Danke de seguir com a Notisia aqui na CBA. Vamos continuar com os blocos de notícia internacional, entre outros. Camino Batamira e Kadanan, com o portfigurar do gabinete Rutte 3.
Over een week staan ze hier, op het bordes van Noordeinde. Premier Rutte krijgt deze vicepremiers. De Rotterdamse wethouder Hugo de Jonge, lokaal burgemeester van Amsterdam Kajsa Ollongren en ChristenUnie-onderhandelaar Carola Schouten. Namens de VVD zijn dit is ministers. Nieuw zijn de namen van Bruno Bruins op volksgezondheid, nu baas bij het UWV, en Europarlementariër Cora van Nieuwenhuizen op infrastructuur en milieu. Het CDA stuurt deze 4 het kabinet in. Die wisten we eigenlijk al valt Ferdinand Grapperhaus op justitie op. Het is de enige zonder Haagse ervaring, maar krijgt een zware justitieportefeuille. D66 mag er ook 4 leveren. Dat worden de Kamerleden Wouter Koolmees en Ingrid van Engelshoven. En op ontwikkelingssamenwerking Sigrid Kaag. Die werkt nu nog voor de Verenigde Naties. En de ChristenUnie levert naast Carola Schouten Arie Slob op onderwijs. Hij was de vorige fractievoorzitter. Er komen ook nog eens 8 staatssecretarissen, 3 Kamerleden van de VVD en voor de ChristenUnie een wethouder uit Apeldoorn. En voor D66 en het CDA gaan deze 4 het kabinet in.
Freedom and independence, they cried, undeterred by the Spanish government's moves to rule their region directly from Madrid. Catalonia's breakaway bid goes on, despite what its separatist leaders called the worst attack on its institutions and people since the Franco dictatorship. In a televised speech, Carles Puigdemont said they would not accept it. He would call a session of parliament to decide how to respond to what he called this attempt to liquidate our government and our democracy. And he spoke in English to warn that European values were at risk. Earlier on Saturday, Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy announced his government had taken the unprecedented decision to curb the powers of Catalonia's parliament, fire its government and call an election within 6 months in a bid to thwart the autonomous region's push for independence following a referendum deemed illegal by Madrid. He insisted that Catalan self-governance wasn't being suspended, and that the measures were rather to remove the people that put that autonomous government outside of the law and constitution. Self-governance will not end, he said. It will be recovered for the sake of legality and for the coexistence of all Catalans, and not just those who are pro-independence. A vote's now scheduled for next Friday in Spain's upper house, the Senate, where the measures must be approved. That seems a foregone conclusion, as Rajoy's ruling Conservatives have a majority in the chamber, as well as support on the issue from the main opposition.
Election success for a billionaire businessman with an anti-establishment message. No wonder maverick tycoon Andrej Babiš has drawn comparisons with Donald Trump. Like the US president, the winner of the Czech Republic's parliamentary election doesn't mind ruffling feathers, though in victory he downplayed his Eurosceptic reputation. We have to fight for our interests. We're a firm part of the European Union. We're a firm part of NATO. I'd be grateful if some people would stop being afraid that we're oriented to the east. But he added that the EU needs to reflect on why Great Britain is leaving the bloc. Despite an emphatic victory for his centrist ANO movement, Babiš will need partners to form a majority. However, fraud charges which he denies and other scandals linked to the 63-year-old have led some potential coalition allies to rule themselves out. Voters in Japan have been going to the polls in a snap general election, giving their verdict on Shinzo Abe's government after almost 5 years in power. Forecasts suggest the Prime Minister's gamble is likely to pay off. The ruling coalition is tipped to win another large majority, even though many Japanese people didn't want this election now. Abe is seeking a record 4th term in office and a mandate to revise the post-war pacifist constitution. His supporters on the right have long opposed the terms imposed on Japan after the Second World War. They want to change the self-defense force into a national army. Critics fear an expansion of the military's role overseas. Abe's main challenge comes from Tokyo's governor Yuriko Koike, although the weather, dampened by Typhoon Lan, which has battered the south, threatened to keep many people at home. Her Party of Hope and a new Constitutional Democratic Party of Japan are vying to be the main opposition, although it's thought neither will dent the ruling coalition's dominance.
On Sunday, Reuters reported Argentinian President Mauricio Macri may be able to sweep the country's Big Five voting districts in Sunday's congressional election, raising his chances of being re-elected in 2019. The private sector is worried about a potential comeback by former President Cristina Fernandez, who was running against the current President Macri. Polls since August have put her in second place in her bid for a Buenos Aires province Senate race. However, analysts have said that Macri's coalition could get the most votes in the top 5 most populous centers in the country.
Donald Trump plans to allow the release of long-secret files on the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. In a tweet, the current U.S. leader said he would let the classified documents be opened, subject to the receipt of further information. A final batch of files is due for release next week, but the president does have the power to block that. Surveys have shown a majority of Americans still distrust official evidence pointing to Lee Harvey Oswald as the sole killer of JFK. More than half a century on, conspiracy theories abound over the fatal shooting in Dallas in November 1963. Oswald never stood trial. He was shot and killed 2 days later by nightclub owner Jack Ruby while in police custody. Kennedy, who was 46 when he died, remains one of the most admired U.S. presidents.
Sumamente interessante. Vamos a un break comercial en vez que nos esté back con noticias de deporte.